Hey guys, Crewman here, and welcome to the new look, freshly launched Crewman Tech channel. I plan on banging out a ton of content for you guys, and we're going to start with the first new look GPU on the channel, the ARC B570. I have one in my hands. Unfortunately, I was not able to get a review sample, but thank you to Micro Center for having them in stock, and I went and grabbed one today, and it was super seamless to get. I think they had one left by the time I got there. I don't know how many they had, but I didn't have any issues picking one up. So in today's video, I'm going to show you the card itself and, describe it a little bit. And then I'm going to do some basic 1440p and 1080p testing. Very, very basic. I think I played with it for about 2 or 3 hours and just give you my initial first reactions. There'll be a review dropping probably in about a week or so, as I need to wait for another test bench. And I want to get a lot more playtime with it. As you guys know, if you followed me from the old Crewman Tech and Mining days, when I do reviews, I do in-game footage, and I actually play the games for a bit, and I let you know how they feel. And I just opened up my B570 Challenger. This is an ASRock model, similar to this, the same company that did the B580. You could see them in size comparison right next to each other. The box was pretty small. This is cool. This definitely can fit in smaller builds. 1 8-pin, but you can see it's a pretty solid looking card. Same build quality, especially if you flip it over, as the B580. You can see the heatsink on the 570 and the 580 are very similar. So not much else to say. Still got the same amount of ports as the 580 does. That's just a quick first impressions look. And now I'm going to fire this puppy up in my 5600X test bench, and we're going to take it for a spin. I know you guys want actual gameplay footage and not just screen grabs, but the way my setup is currently set up, I cannot get you 1080p gameplay footage. I'll fix that in the future, but I played Cyberpunk. You need DLSS. I tried it with DLSS off, and it was a little bit too clunky. It feels like the performance that was shaved off by cutting the cores down on the B570 versus the B580 was like just enough to push it over the I need to have DLSS on, or XESS in Intel's case. So like you basically need upscaling on. And it was pretty good. You could see I was getting like 70-ish FPS, and it looked nice. I really had no problems. I am trying to temper my expectations for this card because it's literally like a $230 GPU. So like you're getting down to 6600 XT territory if you want to have a comparison, and like 3060-ish comparison. So you got to kind of keep your expectations in check. But I'll do more 1080p testing when I get to my review. I just wanted to mess around with it, on Cyberpunk and see how it did. So now we're going to move on to 1440p game testing. All right, so the first game we're going to do is Space Marine, which on the 5600X, people were complaining that the performance was way too low at like 30 to 40 FPS. Well, I put XESS on, or upscaling on. I think it's FSR upscaling in this game, because I feel like you have no choice with the 570. I'm at 1440p medium settings. It felt solid. I mean, I only played with it for like 15 minutes, and I think I lagged maybe once or twice. This was an online game mode. I mean, it was okay. I need to do more testing, but for a $230 graphics card at 1440p medium settings, I really not sure I can complain. So, so far, I don't know. You be the judge. All right, you can see Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I had to play with the settings with this one a little bit. 1440p medium settings, and I did end up turning upscaling on. I tried to leave it off, but I felt like I needed it on just to get that little bit more oomph. And that seems to be where we're at. We're basically, if the B580 didn't need upscaling and you could get away without it, you definitely are going to need it on the B570. But the game looks fine. 1440p, again, medium settings. All right, and then here we've got for Horizon Forbidden West. I actually was able to play it at the same settings I had the ARC B580. we would get a little bit of lag, which probably means that the 1% lows were a little bit wonky. But I mean, I got close to 60 FPS. I'm not trying to say this is a less demanding game, but you can definitely get away with 1440p high settings. Like, this is almost max settings, probably on any GPU that you could probably play 1440p on. So, I mean, I was pretty happy with it. I played this one the longest. I think I cleared this rebel camp, so it took me like 10 minutes to do, and trying not to die because there was a lot going on in the game, and it handled it well. So yeah, this is Horizon Forbidden West. All right, so overall, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. Like I said earlier, it's definitely a graphics card where you're gonna need a lot more XCSS and upscaling, because I think we're finally at that point where the little bit that they cut down, which even if it's only, I think it was like 12% difference from the B580, it feels like that's just enough where you're gonna have to start enabling upscaling. And again, that's okay, because this is literally a $220 card MSRP. So like you can't really complain at that point, I think. Another thing that was, I don't want to say disappointing, even though it kind of felt disappointing, was I had to re-update the drivers. Now, thankfully, these new drivers will also work with the B580, but I guess I just thought that Intel already had all its drivers ready to go. No big deal. And the latest driver update gave you some kind of like Intel software suite. I'll go over that in the review, but it seemed okay. So my initial impressions, again, Intel's going at that low end. They're going for the jugulars of AMD and NVIDIA, $220. That's a little bit cheaper than the B580. Realistically, it's probably like $50 cheaper, because I don't think you're going to get a B580 for cheaper than like 260, 270. And at the low end, that $50 could be, that could be a CPU cooler, that could be CPU cooler and RAM, that could be some case fans. I mean, that could be legitimate parts you need for your build. So, when you're building low end, sometimes you really, I hate to say it, but beggars can't be choosers. And if you want to buy all new because it's your hard-earned money and you don't want to buy used, that $50 will go a long way. And, I think I see where the B570 could be useful. And again, it's got more than 8 gigs of VRAM, so it's got that going for it. All right, well, that's it for my first impressions. I'll have a lot more on this one coming up in the next week or so. I'm excited for it, a lot less excited than I was for the B580, but I think this isn't going for the same crowd the B580 was going for. But it's still a pretty cool GPU nonetheless. All right, guys, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe so you can see my B570 review and more ARC B570 content. All right, guys, see you on the next one. Peace out.